Hello, hello, and welcome to Growth Strategy. So, let's talk about a hot topic of 2026 because this conversation is happening everywhere. It is in the conversation is AI going to replace marketing? And here is where I land on that. I don't think that's the right question at all. And what I am noticing and what the data and trends are backing up is something very different, something way more interesting, and honestly, something more hopeful if you've been doing the work the right way. AI is not a threat to marketing, it is a mirror. And what it is reflecting back is which brands were built on something real and which ones were built to look good without having anything underneath. I want to start off with a little context because I think it matters for where we are going in this conversation. I did not start in marketing. I started in psychology. That is what I went to school for. Behavioral psychology specifically, which is the study of what motivates people to do things, what drives decisions, what makes someone trust something, want something, feel connected to something. And when I transitioned into marketing, I remember thinking that this is the same thing. And it's with design, it is with copy, it is with all of these things that back up that psychology. Marketing is behavioral psychology applied to business. It is the study of what makes a human being say yes to something, what makes them feel seen, what makes them come back. And in my very first marketing role, before I ever wrote a piece of copy or built a campaign, I was taught you have to know your customer, not demographically, not women 25 to 45, psychographically. What do they believe? What do they fear? What do they tell themselves at 2 a.m.? What does success look like and feel like to them? And you have to know the pillars. What does this brand stand for? What does it refuse to do? Where are their lines? You have to do an audit. Where are you? Where do you want to go? What is actually in the way? What are your roadblocks? That is the foundation. And here's what I am seeing right now. After 15 years in this industry, a lot of brands skipped the foundations entirely and they went straight to content. They went straight to building a website, straight to being a service or whatever they are, slapping some branding on it, and then launching. And built the house without motivates people blueprint. And for a while, it worked. Or at least it was hard to tell if something was working. But AI has completely changed that. This is what I am observing in the market right now, and I think that it is very important. Companies are producing more content than they ever have. More blog posts, more emails, more social posts, more everything. AI has made it faster, cheaper, more accessible. That is genuinely great in a lot of ways. But the brands that didn't have that real foundation, the ones that couldn't answer those basic questions, who exactly is your customer? What do you actually believe in? What makes you different from everybody else offering the same exact thing? What are your values? What do you value? Those brands that could not answer those questions are now producing more of what they have always produced. And that content that it sounds right, but does not land. Messaging that looks polished, but doesn't convert. And campaigns that run, but don't resonate. And the market can feel that. We can feel that a lot. And I've been in enough meetings and enough brand audits to know what it looks like when a company has been building just on vibes or just on increasing their monthly recurring revenue. And what AI has done has essentially turned up the volume on everything. So the brands that were hollow, they're producing hollow content faster. And the audiences who are becoming more discerning, and audiences are becoming more discerning, not less. They are noticing what brands are bringing value and which ones are not. Because there are so many options out there that if you are not bringing value to back up, they don't want to connect with you. And those brands that did the foundational work the ones that know their customer inside and out, the ones that have clear, honest, specific points of view, the ones that built with heart and not just a revenue target, those brands are thriving with AI because AI is just amplifying something very real. And that is just who they are at the core and the foundations that they were built off of. It's the soul behind the company. And it's the most important thing happening in marketing right now. And I want to name something that I think people dance around and they don't want to say directly, but there are two kinds of brands right now in the world. And there are brands that were built on the heart and soul, and there were brands that genuinely cared about the problem. They know the customer, not as a demographic, but they know them as human beings. Their values are not bullet points in some document that they can't even find in their Google Drive. They show up in their decisions that they are making day to day, who they are, who they say no to, and how they handle a complaint, and how they manage customer service, and the way they talk about what they do. They have a purpose. And the brands that were built on being transactional and built to capture attention and convert and just collect revenue, not bad necessarily. We're all trying to make money here, but it's surface level. And they never went that deep with the customer. And they never defined what they actually stood for. They just wanted to create a product and get it out. And they were built to look like a brand without doing the work of becoming one. And AI is making the difference between those two things way more visible, not less. It is making that gap even wider of who is bringing value and who is not. And because you cannot prompt your way into having a point of view. You can't generate your way into a genuine connection, and you can't produce your way into trust. Brands that have done the deep foundational, sometimes very unglamorous work of actually understanding their customer and being honest about who they are, those brands are becoming more relatable, more resonant, more trusted because in the sea of AI generated sameness, authenticity is the thing that stands out the most. And I think that genuinely, and I find that to be a wonderful place to be. I find that really hopeful because it means that people that are doing the good work that matters, the real stuff, not the content calendar, not the campaign, not the output. Like, yes, all that is great and you need that too, but it is the thinking behind it and the person behind it and the soul and the foundation. It's the heart. And marketing was always supposed to be about making somebody feel seen. And AI is just reminding us of that. So let me bring this to where you are right now because you're not here just for theory, but because you're trying to build something. And if you are building something and you feel like your content is not landing the way that it should, before you change your tools, before you change your posting schedule, I want you to ask yourself some very foundational questions. And I'll put this in the show notes so that you have that as well. But these are the questions that you need to ask yourself. Do I actually know who my customer is? Not the demographic, but the human behind it. What do they believe about themselves? What are they afraid of? What have they already tried that did not work? And do I know what my brand actually stands for? You need to ask yourself, can I articulate in one sentence why somebody would choose me over everybody else saying the same thing? And if any of that feels shaky, then that's the work that you need to do. If you can't answer those questions, then you need to go back and you need to be able to define it because that will help you create the copy and the messaging that your brand needs in order to resonate. And the good news is that if you've been doing the work, if you've been building with intention, if your brand has a heart and a soul, that AI is actually your best friend right now because it's going to let you scale in a place that's feeling real. Obviously, you need to adjust your prompts accordingly, but real is what people are hungry for right now. We need real. We need people to be real. And that is a true sentiment. That is just felt in this world right now. So it is going to help you scale. It is going to help you connect and it's going to help you stand out. And it's also reassuring to know that the people that are more service led, that are building with purpose, that have a lot of values and that have very good intentions are the ones that can stand out more because people are craving that authenticity. And I think that's a beautiful place to be. So I'm excited to see how this grows and how it translates into the future because where we're at now, it could be a completely different playing field at the end of 2026. It could completely reframe how we go ahead with marketing and what work brands need to do when they start. So, this is just part 1 of this series, and I wanted to just share the big picture, the trends, the observations of what I am seeing, and that the research is starting to support. And then in part 2, we're gonna go deeper into the research component of it. So it will be very a lot more statistical, but, we're gonna go more into the science of what's happening right now. We're gonna talk about the neuroscience and behavioral psychology behind how humans actually make decisions, the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, the psychology of nostalgia. We're going to talk about some color psychology as well, um, and what it means for you in marketing and just this AI world to build your brand. And then in part 3, we're going to go back into the marketing textbook, and I'm going to help you really nail down how to identify your customer, how to create the archetypes for them, and, I'm gonna pull in some information about Steve Jobs and how he built Apple because what he understood so well was just human desire of simplicity and the psychology of design and how language and calligraphy is so important into decision making. And it is more relevant now than it ever has been. So sit with this one, think about the foundation from what your brand is built on, and I will see you in part 2.